One messed up. And stuff like that. And you just not doing better.
Good evening. Please find your seats. Welcome everybody to the Northport United Tour. My name is Carmine Miranda and I'm with nonprofit Northport Forward. Northport Forward is a proud sponsor of the United Tour. I'd like to introduce the elected officials who are in the audience tonight. We have Commissioner Barbara Langdon. We have Vice Mayor Phil Stokes. And I'd like to introduce some of the directors that are here. We have Chuck Speaks. We have Elena Ray, development. We have Sandy from Parks and Rec. And Madison Hyde for our communications team. We have Police Captain, Foster. We have Deputy Fire Chief Early. We have Deputy City Manager Jason Welper. And we have our City Manager Jerome Fletcher. We'd also like to introduce the Northport Forward team. We have a couple of our folks are out, but I'd like to introduce our chairman back, Walter Krosky, and John Mullins. He's going to do all of our live performances so we can reach out to a greater audience. Thank you. And myself. Thank you. Okay, so what do we do? By bringing the community together for face-to-face conversations, we accomplish several things. We're able to share our thoughts, our concerns, and our ideas, keep you informed. You can get answers to your most important questions. And lastly, you get to know city leadership, where by doing that, you build trust, and so we can work together to come up with common solutions to our issues and problems. While digital communication is convenient, face-to-face dialogue offers richer, deeper, and more effective interpersonal interactions. We've been doing United Tours now for a couple of years. We've also done some what we call community conversations. Topics have been nonprofit, define your mission. We've had the Sarasota Mosquito Management come down, talk about mosquitoes. We had the Northport Utilities Department. We've had Northport Economic Development, along with Charlotte and Sarasota County Economic Development. We have our next community conversation. These are on the back table. If you know of young families where both parents or single mom or single dad need to work and childcare is an issue, what we'd like to do is we're having on November 19th at the Shannon Stubb Library, we're having what we call community conversations to talk about childcare. We've got Vinnie Mascarenas from Northport Economic Development. We have Janet Kahn from, she's the CEO of Early Learning Coalition of Sarasota County. We have Anna McClendon, Director of Community Outreach and Engagement for the Early Coalition of Sarasota County. And lastly, Brittany Lamont, she's the Chair Early Learning Coalition Child Care Business Task Force and President. What they're going to do is talk about how to navigate child care in our city, locally, and also address some financial assistance ways to help some of the families and also some of the businesses, because businesses and families are affected by a shortage of childcare. In January, for a community conversation, we're looking to get Swift Mud to come in, talk about water, our water resources, which includes water quality, water quantity, and also flooding. So please visit our website, check out our events calendar, and please spread the word about our events and contact us with your recommendations if you want some topics that you want us to get some subject matter experts in to talk to you all, okay? We really appreciate you guys coming out, and thank you for having us at this lovely community. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our city manager, Jerome Fletcher.
Thank you, Talon. I appreciate it. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with you, all of our team members' names. That was phenomenal. Talon Bay, thank you for having me here. This is my first time here. You have a beautiful community, lovely clubhouse here. Our team and city staff are just grateful to be here. So this conversation that we have with you tonight is really to update you on some information and important things that are going on within your city. I've been here for 3 years. We've been doing these at least for 2+ years, and we try to get information out to you so that you're aware of what's going on, answer your questions. We know that each individual community has specific questions, so we're going to answer those. We have teams here who can answer all your questions, and we'll get you what you need tonight. The slide that you have right here is a little bit outdated. We haven't updated it since the election, so I just want to give people an update on what is going on since November the 5th. First and foremost, Ms. Barbara Langdon got reelected, and we're very grateful to have her continue to be as a strong member of our leadership team. Thank you, ma'am, for everything that you do. We do have 2 outgoing commissioners. One is Mayor Alice White, and the other is Commissioner Debbie McDowell. I know that the Mayor White has been in our community for multiple decades as a tree lady, and her work for nonprofits and care for the environment is unmatched, and we were sad to see her go. We'll also get 2 new members on our board, one being Mr. David DeVal and the other being Mr. Dimitri Petrov. I haven't met either one of those gentlemen yet, but I look forward to meeting them because I know that they share the same passion as we currently do to uplift and build our community to a bigger and better place. There was also a referendum that was on the ballot that did not pass. It barely failed, but what that is telling us is that we heard from the people. The referendum question was to allow us to have borrowing authority. We are the only city that we can find in the state of Florida that does not have the ability to borrow any money unless it goes out for a vote or referendum. The people have spoken. That means that we will stay that way, which means that we still have to take care of the city as we always said we would, because that is our obligation. It will just take more time and it will cost more money. We're going to try to do everything we can to make it as best as we can, but we have to work within the system that we are told to work within, and that's what we will do because we have heard and we will listen to the people. And so who are we? So this is your leadership team of the city manager's office, myself, Mr. Jason Yarborough, and Julie Balea, who couldn't be here. One thing you should definitely know is that the 100 years of experience between the 3 of us, we are very seasoned in what we do. We are not people who are just trying to figure this out as we go, and there should be a lot of credit and weight given to what we propose to our commission. That doesn't mean they're going to listen to us all the time. It doesn't mean they're not going to have questions, and that's not going to mean that we can't get them answers. What it means is that the reliable track records that we have, and 2 of these people, myself and Mr. Yarborough, are credential managers through the ICMA, which is the governing organization of our profession of public administration. This year, as well as every year, we have a slogan, and we want to make sure that we know that we are here to help you. This is from our customer service team and how can we help. They have t-shirts that read, how can we help? We want you to know that it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter who you know to get your help from the city of Northport. You shouldn't know the mayor, you shouldn't know Jerome. You should be able to get the same service, independent, fairly across the board and consistently. So when you reach out to us, whether it's through the web, through the phone, we want you to know that we're there to make sure that we can take care of your needs. It's very important that your city is responsive to you as a resident. These are some of the accreditations that we have throughout our city staff and city departments. And what this means is that your staff, whether it's the fire department, police, parks and recs department, public works, utilities, fire, finance, and communications, we always want to be recognized as being part of the top tier of anything that we do. We set the bar high, we're not going to lower the bar, and we're going to meet expectations and exceed them as much as we can. These departments right here are specifically noted for the benchmarks that they've reached and the quality and excellence that they bring to your city every single day. This is a map that shows you the population of the city of Northport. If you look at the year at the bottom right, you can see as we started to grow and the population to the further right, that when we start to grow, we start to populate ourselves right there in the bottom left corner of Northport when it was incorporated. And you're going to see how it grew and where we grew. You will also notice that as we have populated a lot of the west side of the city, including West Villages, where it was annexed in, there's going to be a lot of area over to the east side of the city that we still have not populated. Our city is 104 square miles, and right now we're about 95,000 people. And we're headed towards 250,000 people when the city is fully built out in decades or years to come. This is not a plan that has just been started for people who say, well, why are you doing all this building right now? This is a plan that has been in place and been in motion for the last multiple decades. I believe West Villages was annexed in early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, before it started to get built. When you look at the map, you can see on the east side of the map, look at the upper right-hand portion that is yet to be developed. That is an area that if infrastructure and developers pull their resources together and work with the city, that will be populated as well. And that area over there is almost an equal to size of Walnut Park. That's how big your city is. That's how much area we're responsible for. The city is 65 years old and we have aging infrastructure, and that's why we need to make sure that your city is able to take care of itself. And like I said, we will get it done. And this was our slogan for getting the work done for November the 5th. And we have to thank a lot of people. A lot of people supported us that we appreciate it, including the ones in this room, Northport Forward, thank you so much. John Rollins, WKDW 97.5,
Yep.
Thank you so much as well. We spoke and we went to as many places as we could, and we told as many people as we could. Our website was done well. Thank you to communications and our website. I loved it. Still have a ton of good information out there on it, but we still got to get the work done. Still going to get the work done because we're not going to fail. Price Boulevard, most of you may have known about Price Boulevard for quite some time. We just signed the bonds actually for Price Boulevard a couple of weeks ago. I believe they will be putting a dirt in the ground in the upcoming month or two, early 2025. There you go, we're gonna stick with that. But a lot of people have seen this and said, I've heard it, you guys have been saying this forever. Trust me when I tell you, when you borrow the money to get it done, and now that you have that money and you have to get the project done, it is no longer a concept. This is happening, and we're gonna have a groundbreaking. We hope that the whole city will sort of rejoice in that. We need to make sure that that boulevard is widened for many purposes, including an evacuation route. And heaven forbid, we have another storm here again that the weather people are calling for next week. Give me a break. I'm over your hurricanes, Florida. So we also had the UODC rewrite that passed this year. And what that led us to do was to create a better model and a better landscape to build that growth that we told you about. If you don't build responsibly and you bring in too many people, whether it's your infrastructure, whether it's your traffic patterns, whether it's your shopping and all the needs that you have, you're not going to maximize the best experience for our citizens. We need to make sure that we bring up our commercial values to the levels where it does not hurt you financially. This city needs the money that it makes and the people that are here to spend their money here, and that rezoning will allow us to have better commercial usage of our city. Right now, our city has a commercial rate of about 8%, and it needs to be about 28% with a city of our size. We have a way to go. And what you want to do is you want to attract those people so they can help pay for the things that you're using now and the things that you will need to use later. That's how you spread the wealth around so that people can pay their portion. As you build and develop your city, you must do it responsibly by taking care of your environment. And this is the Natural Resource Division that has been in place now for roughly a year. when we say that we want growth, we want to say that we also care about our environment, whether it's trees, whether it's the wildlife, whether it's our water, we care about it. So we brought in a group of subject matter experts to make sure and hold the city accountable and put our money where our mouth is so that we can say that we are building in a responsible manner. And they have been very well received and they're very busy. And I'm very happy that they are part of our team. I believe most people know by now that we're having multiple hospitals come to the city of Northport. When I got here, we didn't have any, and now we're having 3 or 4. And that's just based on the growth of your city. Your city has grown, and some of you have been here for 60 days, and some of you have been here for 60 years. Whatever you got here, you saw some growth at some point in time. The growth has not stopped. It may have been stalled, and it may be slower at some points in your life, but this city is continuing to grow. And that's, again, that's not something that you can sort of unwind, but you can do it in the best way. Bless you. And for us, doing it the best way means that you shouldn't have to travel far for healthcare. Our city is too big. We shouldn't have to travel up and down the road. So this is a healthcare expansion update tells you about Sarasota Memorial, who are building 2 hospitals, one at Sumter and 75 Interchange. And that development master plan was approved in September. And preliminary site work, soil borings are starting soon. And there's also 27 acres at US 41 West Villages Parkway. So they will have 2 footprints in our city, which will be phenomenal. The ACA, you can see that as you're driving by it now over in Bowling Park. There's 30 acres at 41 and Prado Boulevard. The freestanding ERs, the phase 1. Phase 2 will come later. They will continue to build on their footprint of their property. And the medical offices at West Villages Shopping Center are now open. The Northport Behavioral Hospital, to me, is just as important as the other 2. We know that mental health and mental illness is a real thing in our society, and having somewhere to help people get treated as opposed to putting them to the side or not giving them what they need to be successful is something that we should all be glad and appreciative of having that opening in February of 2025. It's going to be a great building, and they also are currently hiring for numerous well-paid jobs. The workforce training partnerships, this relates back to our working with STC, Southern Coast Technical College. They are expanding their footprint, and they're expanding their footprint there so that they can build their next phase to be able to have more healthcare programs. Healthcare programs bring in more nurses, more doctors. We want them to stay here and work at the aforementioned hospitals that we have. We have to create jobs here in the city of Northport. 90% of this community commutes outside to work, and we need to change that as much as we can if we want everyone to take advantage of this city as much as they can. This here is a rendering that was accepted as part of the Warm Mineral Springs project. It's one that a lot of people have a lot of concern about because of its great mineral and healistic powers. And what I'll say is that we worked on this for about 2 years, and it was a long 2 years. And the outcome was keeping the footprint of the, how many times I'm gonna say footprint? The 20 acres of the actual lake preserved so that it would not be damaged by any sort of development. We did a geo survey that told us that we were safe to do what we wanted to do there, which was minimal anyway. And now the commission is looking towards a conservatory easement on this property so that we can keep it natural for as much as they want to, which means that the 2019 plan that was approved by the city has a good roadmap of what we were told that the city wanted on that property. It doesn't mean you can't have something small there that would generate some extra attention or activity. It will not be sort of the first model that we had where we were looking at doing a great big economic development project on that site. The Community Unity newsletter is something that we strongly encourage you to sign up for if you have not already. It's important because you need to know what happens when it happens and not have to search and look for it. You need to be able to have us reach you without you having to wonder, well, I wonder what they're doing with those hospitals, or where's the progress at? If you scan that QR code, or if you go to our website, you'll be able to get that information straight to you. We believe in transparency. We believe in being accountable and responsible, and that means that we need to be accessible. We're not going to run away from things that don't go right. If we do it wrong, we'll make a mistake and we'll apologize and we'll move on and we'll do better. Never going to say we're perfect, and we never truly have all the answers, nor do we want to pretend to, but we want you to know that we are working hard every day to make your life better. And the only way that we can do that is through the feedback of yourselves. We need to hear from you. And we can hear from you in multiple ways, but we have to hear from you. Because if we don't hear from you, then that makes us think that everything is fine and okay. But now, listening to the people, based on obviously referendum as an example, we have heard you. That we need to do it in a different way than we proposed, and that's what we'll do, because that's what good governors do. You listen, and then you make adjustments and pivot into the ways that you know that you need to. The Talon RV Resort, I know that's important to the people here, so we put a slide up, and we have some people that can talk about that further to the knowledge that we have. But what we know is that the property is within Activity Center 1, and it was initially considered for the new City of Northport Utility Administration Building. But the city received feedback and objections from that, and now the city decided not to purchase the property, and it was purchased in 2022, and they received an application for the development of a luxury RV resort in March of 23, and it is a proposed use as allowed in Activity Center 1, and the city commission approved that development plan for on January 4th of this year. And from this standpoint, I think all of you know about this by now. And I believe a new map is just shown over there for what the railing will look like. But we're here to answer any questions that you may have for us on that. And I know there's some history there. And we have some staff here who was here before. I can answer some of those questions as well. So that's all that I'm going to speak on today. But, I want to answer your questions. And again, thank you for having us and our staff here. And I'll turn it over to the audience. Yes, sir.
First question. You talking about commercial development at 8%? Should have 28%?
Yes, sir.
Does this community give tax breaks to businesses to attract them?
Our development services director is going to answer that question.
So we do have a list of targeted industries. They consist of healthcare, manufacturing, bio, banking, all sorts of industries. And we do have a fund it's a limited fund for attraction. So we do have a fund that we can use to provide incentives. What we have been lacking is an ordinance or resolution from the commission that would set the parameters for how we can award those incentives. So we've been working on that. It is currently, we have an ordinance that is currently in our legal review process. And we met with them, as a matter of fact, yesterday, and expect to have that back to us here in the next couple of weeks. And then we will be taking that ordinance to the city commission, should be by January, and getting that adopted. In the meantime, if we have someone we are talking with some businesses that are interested in incentives, impact fee deferrals, abatements, those kinds of things. So we are actively working with them on that, and they are eagerly awaiting the adoption of that ordinance.
I'm from the Buffalo, New York area, and it's very common to get
It certainly
tax
is.
breaks to move this business to that building. We're doing a lot with all the buildings.
Yes, the city's never really done much of that. You now have we're building an economic development team that has experience with that. I've worked with those same types of incentives in other jurisdictions, so I'm familiar with those. And we are aggressively now going out and working with new businesses. We've got a lot of things coming we're very excited about. We just can't talk about them yet. So
I think you need some blue collar jobs.
absolutely. You are absolutely right.
With just
In fact, we met, I did a tour last week with a company called Eurowall, which is here in Northport. They are located off of Toledo Blade. They are a manufacturer. They have a lot of blue collar jobs. They are looking to expand, and we're working with them to try to find some more space. They're going to be renting some of the space that Benderson is building over on Toledo Blade and bringing in some new jobs. We're working with other manufacturers. In fact, we're going to a manufacturing convention up in Nashville where the movers and shakers and the C-suite people from a lot of manufacturing companies around the country will be there, and they'll be looking for space. And we are going to be there to advertise Northport and to try to bring some of those companies here. We have a job fair that we're doing tomorrow, our first job fair hosted by the Northport Economic Development Team. And we are going to have companies from around the city. All of these healthcare partners that were on the screen earlier, they will all be there looking to hire people. We have King's Plastic, several other manufacturers that are going to be there. So all of those kinds of jobs, we are absolutely working not only with our current businesses, but also on bringing new businesses in that will attract those kinds of jobs.
Another question, do we have ground-ready industrial space dedicated?
We absolutely do. So we have some, we've been limited. We've been very limited because Northport's never planned for large types of growth like that. So I've been here for 3 years.
3 years in December.
In December, 3 years in December. As soon as I got here, we started working on a rewrite of our Unified Land Development Code because, as some of you know, the founders of Northport planned for this to be a bedroom community, residential only, no commercial, no industrial. So we didn't have much land to work with. We've changed that now. We've now, our ULDC doubles the amount of area, land area, for those types of uses. We've worked with Benderson, we've worked with some other developers. We have 800,000 square feet of light industrial, flex space manufacturing that has already been approved by our commission north of 75 on Toledo Blade. And the state of Florida gave the city a grant to extend utilities up there, water up there, and we have finished that project. And we are now working with the developer to get those shovels in the ground. It's already approved. They just need to mobilize and get the sewer going up there. So yes, 800,000 square feet. Benderson is doing 400,000 square feet right now with another, I think, maybe twice that planned. We've got another developer that we're working with for another 300 acres, and then we've got another 2 million square feet that is entitled.
I'd like to see some smokestacks pushing on the
We are doing everything in our power, and I can tell you that we are pursuing that type of development more aggressively than Northport ever has. And we are, in fact, I've got 4 conferences, conventions planned for this year, where we are taking our booth, we are marketing ourselves to a global market. We went to a convention a few months ago. It's the first time Northport ever had an economic development presence there. We had people coming up to us. We showed them what Northport can offer, and they said, "Why did we never know Northport was even there?" So we're very excited. We have the people that we have coming to us now as a result of the contacts that we're making is going to be a game changer for Northport.
Thank you. Thank you. Chatty Cathy, everyone. Chatty Cathy. I think he asked you a yes or no question. Before I go on, one other thing is the people want to know is how does this growth impact you? And what we're doing right now, our PFN financial advisors are preparing a economic development analysis in addition to our fiscal condition analysis that will show you how the growth is scheduled to pay for itself. We all know economic development does not move fast, but you need to know what is happening and what is going to happen and how that affects you financially. Did I see a hand up? Was that your hand? Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, you're right. Yes, ma'am.
Especially thinking of having more companies like that. What can you tell about the water quality and what other perspective? Because the city is growing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now that probably the water quality is not getting any better. How is it going? Are there plans to improve?
Absolutely.
Good evening, Jason Yarborough, Deputy City Manager. So we are blessed. We have a lot of sources of water. We have done extensive testing of our stormwater system, we've been looking for all kinds of different elements. For the most part, we have pretty good water quality. In fact, the water that you typically drink, or one of the sources is from the Mayahatchee Creek, and that is fed by the Cocoa Plum and Snover and all the other different water canal systems that go to that creek. And then, so that creek serves multiple purposes. It serves a stormwater control purpose. We're about to do a major project in there to remove over 200 blockages that will increase the capacity of that creek, which will be instrumental in helping protect against flooding during inclement weather. And then the second thing about that creek is that obviously it provides a water source. And then on top of that, not only do we have that, but we have well water that can be brought up and run through the reverse osmosis system. And then a third water source, and most cities only have one or two water sources. We have a third water source. We have the Peace River Water Authority. And we just, last night, the City Commission gave approval for additional 2 million gallons of water to be purchased from the Peace River Water Authority. So we have a lot of different water sources. As far as water quality, Chuck, our public works director, I didn't know if you had any comments you want to talk about how awesome the stormwater system is and cleaning itself. We use a lot of biological processes. You'll see swells in the legacy of the older part of town. You're in a master plan community where the stormwater system has been engineered. Our stormwater system in the older part of town has a swell system. It's an open containment system, which allows the biological elements such as the flora and fauna to break down any bad things in the water, and that water then flows into retention ditches where you have more of a biological process that eventually ends its way up into one of the canals, and then the canal ends up into the Mayahatchee Creek. So, did I miss anything?
Perfect.
Okay. How would you say the water quality is there, Chuck?
We have very good water quality. So in our canals, we have about 80 miles. Great job. I was going to jump in. We have about 80 miles of waterways, which are the canals that are wet all the time. We have 135 miles of retention ditches. Those are the ones that are vegetated, that provide that treatment that the deputy city manager was explaining. Also, roadside swales, where the water first goes when it comes off the properties and off the roadways, those are vegetated as well, right? So there's about 1,600 miles of those. So a drop of water goes through that system and is treated the whole way. And that's why when people want to see the ditches mowed very short, we don't want to keep those ditches short like that. We want to have that vegetation a little taller to slow the water, because that's how it's designed. You slow that water down to let it get treated as it works its way to the Mayahatchee Creek, which is our primary water source.
Follow-on question. Who is that country again? Have you not seen good water quality here?
No, I'm
Is
just
it-
concerned about the future because the population is growing like crazy.
Right.
We all can see that right now.
Yes, but the quality is different than the quantity.
Yes.
The quantity is-
That's like a double question.
Okay, all right, but has anyone seen poor water quality? Okay, just making sure. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Well, I had to put my own filtration system in and my own RO system in because your water's so great. I kayak in the river and the water's all brown. Okay? You talk about the vegetation in the swales, and yet you let this guy come in with an RV park and cut everything down?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, sure.
Good points.
I'll touch on some of these. So in Florida, we have the temperature here as well as these natural creeks have trees alongside it, right? So think about how you make tea, right? You make tea with leaves. As those leaves fall into a creek and they soak in that creek, that water becomes tannin stained, which is that brown color. Okay? And unless that's a solid brown color that you can't see through,
and all the animals that die.
if you see dying animals, you need to make a phone call, right?
Well, where's the alligators go? They live forever?
Say that again?
Where's the alligators go? Do they live forever?
They don't live forever.
Oh, they die.
Oh, eventually.
All the animals that die.
Oh, you're saying when they die,
Right,
no
after.
longer what happens?
Water
That
goes
is,
into the creek.
sure, that is nature, right? Nature has a process for itself.
It still has to be treated.
So the water that you're getting is treated at the utility plant.
Yes.
It's already going through a RO process, and it's treated and tested.
So why does it every so often smell like rotten eggs?
That one I don't, I will let PCF figure that. I'm not.
So we are required by state and federal law in order to chlorinate the water. We use something called chloramines, which is a more stable entity. Every once in a while, we will have to, especially during the summertime, we will crank up the chlorine in order to kill or to take any organic material that has shown up in the water system out. It's not, we typically do our best to try to educate before we do that, but it's called a burn, and it's done every so often in order to make sure that the water's as pure and safe as possible. And we meet all state and federal regulatory requirements for our water. We have high quality water. It may sometimes not always meet everyone's aesthetic, but we don't get that many complaints about the water quality or the water smell. We just don't.
And let me just touch on, when I'm talking about treatment of the water on my end, right, I'm public works, not utilities. I'm talking about the treatment of the water for the natural area, right? So the water that we're releasing from the city that goes into the Myakkahatchee, that goes into the Myakka, then the harbor and the Gulf, that's what we're treating for. The water plant has a complete different process for treating drinking water. I'm talking about cleaning the water up from what humans do to it here before it gets to our natural bodies, which are downstream.
Thank you. Good point. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
A question about the park. Some construction is going on now west of Talon Bay Drive. Can you exempt first phase? When that comes into play, how's that going to be taxed?
Okay, so two questions. They did get their permits this week. So you are seeing mobilization on the property. They are in there, the contractors are in there, they're bringing the equipment in, and you're going to start seeing some things start happening. From a tax standpoint, it is a commercial use. So they are taxed at a higher rate than residential. They will be paying a lot more taxes on their property. That's one of those commercial uses that we want more commercial uses because they pay much higher tax rates than residential uses, and that helps for all of us who live here in Northport and homes here in Northport. It helps keep our taxes from going up as much as they would without those uses.
No homestead exemption.
There are no homestead exemptions. There are no exemptions on those properties. They will pay full tax rates at the commercial rate.
On the phase,
But the first phase,
That is the first phase. So that side is the first phase.
what is it? The pond?
So they will do their site work first, and that will involve clearing, that will involve their stormwater system. So they will be putting their stormwater ponds in. They will be doing their drives, their parking areas. All of that will happen first, typically before they build vertical like the clubhouse.
same subject. When we were at one of the meetings, for the park, I asked the question about the standards, by which the park models were being built. We live in Florida. We just went through 2 major hurricanes. I had a park model in Michigan. My park model never would have stood up to all the winds we just had. And that's my question. Her answer to that was built to industry standards. That doesn't answer the question. That's all going to end up in our front yards.
So those structures will have to meet the Florida Building Code, and that includes the wind loads, the hurricanes. Now, you look at the park next door, they do not have to meet those wind loads and the Florida Building Code. We don't even get to inspect those units. But what they're doing on this commercial property, the building inspectors will be inspecting it. They will be meeting Florida Building Code hurricane wind loads.
And what will happen to our road? Thinking that there will be a part, we have to break our tiny town rates road.
So once it opens, those RVs will not be coming in every day. There'll be certain times when they come and go. And a lot of them, when they come here, they'll be staying for a while. So, the traffic studies were done, and I'd have to go back and look at the plans to see what improvements are being done to Talon Bay.
Were they done on Talon Bay Road?
I'm sorry?
Were they done specific to our site?
The traffic study?
Yeah, they submitted them to the town, and they were just generic.
Okay,
They were not done based on our street with a traffic light at the end and a dead end coming into our.
so the traffic studies that are done for all development have to take into account the existing traffic. They look at peak hour traffic. They look at different times of the year. And they look at the existing conditions, not just for that property, but for all of the surrounding property and the traffic counts. So that was done. We had those traffic studies. They are public record and they're available for anyone who would like to see those. But I'd have to go back and look. I haven't seen the plans in a while, so I don't know what exact improvements were being done to Talon Bay. But the traffic studies did include the traffic that comes in and out of this development, as well as other developments along 41,
So the road is only one lane wide.
each way.
If you park a bus on one side, you can't get around.
And you
Coming out the main gate. When I mentioned it at the town meeting, they said, oh, well, you just go out the other gate. So if you've got somebody in the ambulance that needs to get out quick to go to one of these new hospitals, how are they gonna get out? So they gotta back up and go all the way around to get out the other gate because some guy is stuck in their $1 million leisure bus.
And there's no room on that road for 40-foot loading parking on this.
So I hate to be a told you so, but the city came to y'all and offered.
I wrote a letter.
Hold on. And we offered to do a utility admin building, which would have been a lot less impactful, but we're here now, we're pregnant. It's done.
But we
So-
went, I gave a letter with a bunch of specific questions. I got no reply from anyone.
Right. Are you talking about the RV park?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
RV.
so, I mean, that has been looked at engineering. It's my understanding this first phase, which is the map up on the wall will be, if I'm not mistaken, permanent units, if I'm not mistaken. And then, the second across the street will be the actual, mobile units, but, this is going to impact your life.
Yeah,
You were never going to have that road with majestic, greenery without buying the property and putting it into some kind of conservation easement. That is what it
I
is.
bought a home here because of that road.
Then you didn't do your homework because all that was commercial and it was never going to stay pristine. It was never going to stay, it wasn't an environmental conservation easement. It wasn't in any kind of perpetuity.
4 years ago, they didn't have a plan for the RV.
I know that, but in Florida, we have a perception that, hold on a second. In Florida, we have a perception, I buy my home and I expect the view to never change. The only way to make sure the view doesn't change is you buy the view and then lock it down. That's the only way to do that in Florida. That's how this works. But I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's the answer. Buy the view. If you don't like the view, then buy the view and lock
I
it down.
bought the view. I bought the park here.
You
I
didn't-
bought the park
Yeah,
here.
but not all the way, not all the
So
way.
now, I left New Jersey to get away from that crap. And now you're trying to bring it all down here.
So you bought in a city that has a build out of 250,000 people
Why do we have to have all this development?
because we were designed that way. We were designed to get to 250,000 in 1960 by General Development Corporation. We were designed that way.
By a corporation.
Yes, sir.
Very simple question. I've heard dozens of people say it to me. Isn't there anybody in government, and understanding that the plan is to grow, but isn't there anybody in government that says, I don't think it'd be very nice if we put a 458 site RV park in their front yard?
That's the beautiful thing about the conservative state in which we live. It's called property rights. And that is the zoning allows for that.
Yes.
We have property rights in the state of Florida, and there's no way that you can just, it's called Burt Harris Act. And if you start taking away people's zone rights, you have to start compensating them for that and that. That's the law. Yes, we.
At the time that this site was approved, there was also a proposal for the storage unit, and the storage unit, was, I believe, was tabled because of waiting for the road study.
I don't know that any waters. Do you know? I don't know this.
I know a storage unit was proposed there. I believe it was Patriot Storage. I'd have to go back and see if they have approval or not. I simply don't, I haven't looked into that one. Right, but what Mr. Yarborough was saying regarding the Burt Harris Act, it's not just, if the city took away someone's property rights to develop based on what the zoning is, and that zoning out there for that property has been that way for decades and decades. It's been zoned commercial. The use that they're doing is allowed by right in a commercial zoning. If the city told that property owner they can't develop that property for a use that is allowed by right, the state of Florida says that's what's called a Burt Harris taking. It means the city doesn't only have to compensate them for the value of the property, the city would also have to compensate that property owner for the lost value of that development. So you have to, they would have to do a market study. How much would they make over the next 10, 20, 30 years off of that development? And the city would be responsible for paying it. Some of the awards that have come out of the courts here in Florida against cities and counties that have had to be paid to property owners and developers reach almost $200 million per case. And if you look at how many properties we have not developed in Northport, if you start getting into a Burt Harris case on all of those properties, it would bankrupt the city in a matter of years, a couple of years. In fact, I sat in on a webinar with some attorneys today on the Burt Harris Act. And it's real. It's one of the issues that we have. We have an extremely strong property rights state. It's a very strong property rights state, probably only second to Texas, which is my home state. So I'm well versed in the danger that cities and counties face when they start down that road. But the Florida legislature for the last 20 years has put laws in place. Burt Harris was probably one of the strongest, and that was about 20 years ago. They've strengthened it every few years, and then the courts have come in and strengthened it as well to really lock down cities and counties from being able to deny development if a use is allowed by right. And if the city goes in and tries to what we call down zone a property, so if property is zoned commercial, the city or county tries to go in and down zone that property to say single family residential or conservation, we're in the Burt Harris Act. So then we are liable for millions of dollars in lost value of not just the property value, but the return that the developer would have seen over many years. So it ties our hands. It absolutely does. We have to work within the laws that the Florida legislature gives us.
Just so you know, I'm a realtor. I showed that property umpteen million times to try to sell it to commercial. Be thankful for what you got, because what you were gonna get was much uglier. Just so you know. No, you didn't, because you didn't have the offer. We found a better piece. I'm just telling you that piece has been out there, and I've been showing it, and I've been here 20+ years. I don't like it either. But you know what I do? I sell it because that's my job. That's what they're doing too. Just so you know. Just
Thank you, John. Yes, ma'am.
What are you gonna do about the infrastructure with all these new people coming in? Now 41, when everybody's here, when they come back, it's so crowded. How are you gonna deal with that?
Well, and Chuck might want to talk about our roadway specifically, but you can see some of the work that's being done, like whether it's on River Road or in front of Tammy, and how we're trying to, one, make sure that they can handle the space of it. So there's a space issue, there's a quality issue. And some of 41, which is still a state road, has been handled. You can see it, you're driving up and down there as well. But as we continue to build out and we continue to have in our annual budget money to do the repairs for repaving, we have made a conscious effort to make sure that we keep up with the volume of people. Now, as we keep up with the volume of people and our infrastructure ages, we kind of go back in this hamster wheel loop of, well, we can only borrow so much or fix so much so fast. And as we can't do that, and we ask for permission to do that, it just takes more time and more money. Chuck, do you want to add anything to that? He is definitely taking care of all of our roads.
Chuck speaking, Public Works Director. So US 41 is a FDOT road, right? Florida Department of Transportation road. So we don't have any authority to widen that road or do anything to that road to make it improved. We do monitor the traffic counts there. We do make sure that if there's a problem, we relay that information to FDOT. And I know there's been some widening projects on both sides of us. I think a couple of years back, they did some work to our section. So I would look to see some more widening in the future as the traffic starts to increase. But I can say on the city of Northport side, Price Boulevard being the big one that we're winding down between Toledo and Sumter. And we look to continue those projects within the city in the roadways that we have control of to try to alleviate some of that traffic. We're also working on the Sumter 75 and Toledo 75 signals with FDOT. We partnered with them to push those projects forward. So we'll start seeing work on a temporary signal on Toledo Blade probably in the next year, and maybe a year and a half out for Sumter and Toledo for permanent signals. And that's because the city, those were really 15-year projects, but the city realized the impact that they're having on residents. So we started putting money aside and talking with FDOT. Our interest and willing to pay for some of that has pushed that up probably a decade. So.
And another question, the building that is going on next to, oh, maybe it's in Berkshire, next to Kia, the dealership.
Yeah, that's Sharp.
I never know where that.
Is Berkeley Road in Northport?
River Road is not a city-maintained roadway. It is a county-maintained.
Taking a long time. Like that, pushing stuff around.
They've made some changes to that design, kind of midstream to improve it.
4 lanes to 6, right?
Yeah, from four to 6 lanes, I believe is what it was. So they had to readjust some of the stormwater and other things. I noticed the same thing when I drive through there. And I'm like, wow, this project, it's getting bigger every time I drive by. But that's because they had some extra money and then they're trying to compensate for some of that upcoming traffic. Yes, sir.
Under the topic of streetlights, it seems like we've come up to an intersection, the city in general, come up to an intersection, it seems like nobody's moving, yet cars sitting on all 4 directions. Is there a means of putting in a smart light or something where it can detect if it's okay for cars to go?
Sure. So all of our street lights or traffic signals, right? So we have a few street lights that light the roadway with traffic signals. All of our traffic signals have detection devices. All of the ones on 41, if that may be where you're talking, when we maintain those for FDOT, we have a maintenance agreements with FDOT for those signals. And Sumter and Toledo all have detection devices that actually are, we call them detection cameras. They don't take pictures, they read heat. So they will detect cars there. Some of the problems we have, especially in a year like this year where we've had so many storms, is those detection cameras will get shifted. So we have traffic technicians that go out to try to make sure that those things are realigned. So if you do run into that problem, give us a call. And I will be honest with you, certain times of the day, the sun in certain seasons will blind those detection cameras, so they won't pick up a lane here and there. It's a 15 or 20 minute problem, and it just happens to be on like 3 days of the year, that one signal. But those kind of weird things do happen. But anytime you see that, just give Public Works a call and we'll send our techs out. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the question I had was probably for economic development, when she was talking about some of that stuff. What I wondered is, as far as going out and you were talking more about the commercial and increasing our amount of commercial that it helps to pay for, a lot of things for the city because it's at a higher tax rate than residential. What I wondered is are you also trying to get some national restaurants in here? Because
Yeah, we are.
because we go to Port Charlotte, we go to Venice and other places, there's a lot of business that's, and over to Twisted Fork and, just a lot of places. We heard that we were getting a Texas Roadhouse, we never got one. We heard there was a hotel going to be built down at Welland Park and there's been no notice about
So
that.
I can absolutely speak to that. So the hotel at Welland Park is coming, in fact, two. We've got two. We've got another one behind Walmart on Aiden Lane, here just to the east of you. We have another one up at 75 and Toledo Blade that's coming. So they are coming. I will tell you that some of these developments, you may know about them or you may hear rumors about them 4 or 5 years before they actually come to fruition. And that's because there's a long lead time from the time a company decides that they want to come here to the time they're ready to break ground and actually build. So it
Probably the pandemic through some of that.
it absolutely did. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time, and the pandemic just did some weird things to the whole construction industry. But we have, boy, I wish I could name names tonight, but we have we have some very exciting groups, restaurants, entertainment, shopping, nationally known names that we are talking to and working with. And I will tell you that much of it is because our economic development team and me, which I love traveling by air, I don't, went out and talked to them, went out and found them. We have now had, I can't tell you how many groups we've had who have flown into Northport, and we've toured them around and showed them properties, and now they're working with landowners to write contracts on those properties because we attended different events where we knew those decision makers would be. Northport never did that before, but we're doing it now because it is so critical for our path that we are on. And in order for all of us to have the things that we want, I want those restaurants too.
Because Port Charlotte, they've got one of everything down there, and I was thinking, why don't we have some of that stuff?
We're gonna have some things they don't have.
Yeah, well, good.
So yes, we are aggressively going after them, and we are hoping that in the near future, we can't make announcements until the companies are ready to make announcements. But I can tell you, we're meeting with some that are ready, that are going to be in the very, very near future, ready to start promoting, and they've asked us to help promote them coming. So we will be making those announcements very soon.
Okay, that's good. I figured you were working on it, but.
Harder than
We
the
heard about
city has
Texas
ever.
Roadhouse about a year and a half ago, nothing happened, so.
Harder than this city's ever worked out. Like I said, I came in almost 3 years ago. I've been over economic development since January. Oh, it feels like a year and a half, but it's only been January. Because they moved it from city manager's office into my department, and we're building that team, and we're going out. The city's just never had that team to go out and aggressively market the city, and we're now doing that, and we're starting to see those rewards. It's going to take a little time before we can make it all public, but I can tell you I'm extremely excited.
Also, just another thing, we see things like being built, and there's never any signs like coming soon. Most people have like a little sign that says this is coming, like there's one that's right there
And on that lot, we turned into Walmart to go into Walmart in the corner. There's things going on. I don't know what Port Charlotte's doing over there with all those buildings by Kia, but I assume that it's a apartment.
So a lot of times developers, they don't want to put their big signage up until they're ready. And most of them aren't ready until closer to opening. But we have a map, an interactive map on our website. If you go to Building and Planning, Northport Building and Planning, we have an interactive development viewer map. And it's a GIS map, you pull it up, and it's got little numbers all over the city. And you can click on those, and it'll tell you what that development is. It'll give you a site plan.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
We sure do.
That's good to know about.
We sure do.
Just Google Northport Development.
Google Northport Development Map, it'll be the first one that comes up for you. You can zoom in onto the properties, you can click on it, and it'll pull up the information about that. If there's more information that you want to get, just give our planning folks a call or email them, and they'll be able to get those records for you.
Thank you.
I can tell you about the development next to Kia, even though it's not in Northport, it's in Charlotte County. It is an affordable housing development. So it
That's
is.
another thing I was going to ask about affordable housing.
It is an affordable housing development. I think it's about 300 apartments for that. And then there are also some commercial out parcels along 41 that are going in. I don't know what those commercial uses are going to be, but you know, they haven't made those announcements yet.
That gives me a little bit of a segue into the homelessness. Okay, for years, we worked on the homeless coalition, and we worked with Backpack Angels. You've heard many things that Northport was going to do. First was container houses, then it was little houses, then it was a community like Port Charlotte has. Where are we with the homeless situation?
So I know our police department's here. We are working with Salvation Army on some accommodations for those folks. And we're also doing some affordable housing developments here in Northport. We've got one that's going to be going in on the Pan Am, another one on Toledo Blade. So those housing developments will be helping our lower income families, and one of them is even for 55 and up. So there are a lot of seniors that are struggling to find affordable housing, and that's one of the things. And then our police department has a team that also works with the homeless here in Northport, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you. Captain Fussell with the police. We do have one of our units at the police department is we call a homeless outreach team. It's our HUT team. And we have a caseworker, and we have assigned officers to go out, and we make contact with individuals that experience homelessness, and we offer them resources. Our goal is to get them the help that they need. We have partners like Family Promise and some other organizations in the area that we try to get them the resources and the help that they need to help, move them along. So we do embrace our homeless population, and we're very driven to give them the resources that they need.
Sorry. One clarifying statement, the variety of different housing that you mentioned, the container homes and the tiny homes. Since I've been here, we've never said that we were building those for the homeless. Those were different options for people who needed housing options because the price to live everywhere has gone up and through the roof. And we want those options in the city, but I've never heard anyone say that we were building it for the homeless.
2008, 2010, 2012. The homeless coalition was working on it.
Okay, understood. Yes, a little weeded before my time, but I understand, absolutely. I think we're up against the time here, so I think I need to sort of wrap it up, but I want to thank all of our.
One quick question. Is there a way somebody can get text message alerts for the next emergency that we may have from the city?
I'm guessing the answer is yes.
Because that's important.
888-777.
One more time.
888-777.
888.
No, it's really important. This is good stuff. Thank you. Sorry, this is. Give,
Hello, I'm Madison, now Ingalls. Hyde is my maiden name, but I'm with communications. So yes, you would text NP Strong, like NP Northport, NP Strong, all together, no spaces, to 888-777. And we send out alerts through there during an emergency, not things that clutter up your texts. Only the most important things of, hey, this evacuation level is going. The most important stuff, we don't want to clutter up things during such a intense time. So, yeah, 888-777, NP Strong.
And it's also on the website.
John works here now. It's at also northportfl.gov/alerts is where all of that stuff lives as well. Anything else, Jim?
No, good.
Thank you, John.
Communication is key.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I'm sure we'll turn over to Walter and ask him what the mayor is going to. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the great conversation. Good to see you. Talk about your money or all the things. Thank you for your service to the city and all the things you've done. Great.
Yes, thank you.
I wanted to thank everybody for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Like it's been said, we've been doing this for a few years now. I want to recognize the staff, because and of course, the commissioners who are here after hours, putting this on. Think about that. Northport Forward is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, and we're always looking for people to help us put on these type of events, and also for donations, because as a not-for-profit, it costs money to put some of these events on, and any help that we can get would be deeply appreciated. Specifically, I want to thank Carmine, because he's the one that coordinates getting all these things together, our United Tour events with the city staff, and also the community conversations, and where John, oh, there he is over there, our video guy. And our other board members who couldn't make it here tonight, but I really appreciate you coming out to see us. And go on our website, northportforward.com. We put on our events that are going on there and all kinds of stuff. We have videos and pictures and opinions. And if you have an opinion, you want to send it to us. And if it's a good op-ed, we'll put it out there and email it to our 700-person mailing list. Okay? Thank you all for coming out. Safe trip going home. And we'll see you again.
Robin, I'll make sure that question gets in, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.